Welcome back to the channel. Good Thursday evening, everybody. Today's May the 28th, and it's about 8 o'clock at night. It's been a miserable, rainy day in South Alabama. So, if you recall, I talked on my last video about I had a plan to make a couple of videos about engine issues and what causes those issues and what we can do about it. I was going to do that in two videos, but I think I've decided to just make it one video. So, first off, who does this video apply to? And well, it applies to any newer pilot. When we learn to fly, the only engine issue that I was ever taught about was carb ice, and that's probably because there's only a knob in the cockpit. So anybody that has never had an engine issue, or newer pilots, hopefully this provides some food for thought. What this video applies to, or the kind of airplane, is an airplane like I fly, and the only kind of airplanes I've ever flown is simple. There's not complex, no high performance. I've got a carburetor, so no fuel injection. I've got two magnetos, no electronic ignition, and no constant speed prop. I just have a fixed pitch prop. So that covers any airplane with that configuration. These kind of thoughts and ideas could certainly apply. The sources for information on this video are first my own experiences, and another source of information is YouTubers. I follow a lot of YouTubers online, and when I watch a video, if there's something that they've experienced or they talk about that I have never thought about, or it's not part of my checklist as far as troubleshooting or something, I edit and add it. And also another source of information is a guy that I have a couple of his books. I like what he has to say. Some people believe in him to the moon and back. Other people take what he says with a grain of salt. That's our own individual choices to make. But this is the book. Mike Bush, his book, Engines. I learned a lot from reading this book, and I also learned a lot by watching his videos online. Highly recommended. Why I want to make this video is because anytime you experience something, it's better that that's not the first time you ever thought about it. So sit down with a cup of coffee, think about the airplane that you fly, the kind of flying you do, and think about any engine issue that you could possibly have and what you can do about it. And hopefully that eliminates that surprise factor and mush brain, which happens to me. I've had a couple of engine issues over my 1,700 hours of flying. So what are engine symptoms? We could have a loss of power. We could have a rough running engine. And according to Mike Bush's book here, and I like the way he refers to it, an all hell breaking loose scenario. Interesting stuff that I had never thought about. With glass cockpits these days, I've had not one, two, but three times when I had readings that I questioned. Anytime you get an odd reading with glass cockpits, one thing you have to consider is could it be an electrical issue, a bad ground or bad connection? Like I said, I've had three of those. One was a CHT that went up to 715 degrees. Engine was running fine. Obviously an electrical issue. And when I broke down the connection, I did a pull test and it came off in my hand. So that was it. Another one was bad EGT readings, kind of bouncing all over the place. I did some troubleshooting and finally decided to pull it out of the exhaust pipe, and like the end of it was eaten away, so replace that, problem solved. Another one was, had a high fuel flow reading one time coming back from Massachusetts, and I made a precautionary landing with that one and did some troubleshooting, and the hot wire going into the red cube, I was just looking at everything and touching it, it literally fell out of the connection into my hand. Fix that and solve the problem. If you have an electrical issue that kind of stays and it's steady, that gives it a little more credibility as opposed to it bouncing all over the place. Another electrical issue could be, a failing probe or sensor. All right, let's talk about what can cause some of those symptoms. Loss of power. Most people think carburetor ice. Yeah, that's a good place to start. Water, fuel contamination, that might cause a loss of power. It might even be a little bit of engine roughness, but anytime you got water in the fuel or some fuel contamination, you're going to get a loss of power. Whether it's rough or not, I don't really know. But it's something to think about. It's a fuel tank that's not venting. Sucked it down to a point where there's a vacuum, it's not going to get as much fuel and you're going to be losing power. Also is a blocked air intake going into the carburetor. Say there was a bird or a bird's nest in there that you didn't notice on a pre-flight. Or if you're flying along and you hear that thump and all of a sudden you start getting some engine problems, you might have ingested a bird. There's sometimes little like pieces of plastic that might float in the air. What are the odds you're going to ingest a piece of plastic that's going to cover that air filter enough to cause a problem? I don't know. But if it does, that can cause you some issues. Also, now if the engine's running rough, according to Mike Bush, he says a rough engine is most likely caused by one cylinder not making the same amount of power as the others. That makes a lot of sense to me. A foul plug is going to cause a loss of power in one cylinder, which can cause engine roughness. A bad plug, if the plug quits working on you, same issue. A bad plug wire, same issue. Now that takes us all the way up to the magneto. We'll talk about the magneto in a minute. Another issue would be an engine that's missing. And I have experienced that once in a Cessna 152 that I was flying. And this is going to look kind of stupid, but the best way to describe it is like this. You can just tell you can't really hear it because it happens so quick, but you can I've more felt it in the airframe. What can cause that? That's probably a sticking exhaust valve. And that can be from just a minor inconvenience like it was for me, all the way to where that valve sticks completely and it's stuck in the open position. And now you got the piston coming down. That can lead to a catastrophic engine failure. So if you experience that, it's time to get that thing back on the ground. Now back to the magneto issue and Mike Bush's all hell breaking loose scenario. I like that title. What can cause that? Well, the first thing I would have thought of was I've lost part of my propeller and it's way out of balance. So you got an engine that feels like it's going to come off the airframe. That certainly could cause it. Another thing is if you got something, you got something going on inside the engine and you're about to have a catastrophic engine failure. Something's coming loose in there. That could certainly cause a all hell breaking loose feeling. And then one that Mike Bush talks about in I think I've seen it on his videos online and in the book, is an internal magneto failure. Now what I mean by that, he lists two types of failures, kind of a benign failure and a catastrophic failure. Benign failure is a bad condenser or something that just causes that mag to fail, wiping out one plug on all cylinders. You're just going to lose a little bit of power, and that's no big deal, thank God for the other magneto. But the all hell breaking loose scenario is, when you open a mag up and you got that big plastic gear in there, say part of the, say you get 4 or 5 teeth to all of a sudden break off for some reason, break loose. And now that mag could be firing at any time, way before top dead center. Instead of 25 before top dead center, maybe 30, 35, or 40. And you got a piston coming up and an explosion going on, and it should happen right here, and it's happening, way down here. That can wipe out an engine, blow a cylinder really quick. Those are some of the things that can lead to a catastrophe. Now here's the point of the video. The point of the video is when those kind of things are going on and that mush brain kicks in, if you get it like I do, I made a list. This is important. Think about this. For my airplane, I made a list of every single action I can take in the cockpit, in flight, to solve a problem. And I've got it posted right on my panel. And my list consists of carburetor heat, fuel pump on, switch tanks, adjust the mixture. I've got an oil temperature gate or oil temperature door so I can regulate my oil temperature a little bit. My engine always seems to run a little cool. That's why I put that on. I have an alternate air source underneath the air box. So if I miss a bird or miss a nest inside there, or I take a piece of plastic up inside and it blocks the airflow, I can suck it right from the bottom. No filter or nothing, it's coming straight in. Should solve the problem until I get on the ground. The all hell breaking loose scenario, I can do a mag check. If you got a magneto that has lost some teeth or something, as soon as you do a mag check, left or right, if it all of a sudden starts running smooth, leave it there and you're back in business. And another thing is adjust the throttle. That's 9 things I can do. There's nothing else I can do in my airplane to change anything with the engine. The point is, if I can't figure out what's going on and why it's happening, then I'm not going to really know what to do other than just guessing. That's why I came up with this list. And I would encourage everybody to sit down and think of everything you can do in your cockpit to change something with that engine. And if those things, hopefully one of those things will work. And another side note is, I don't think there's anything on my list that would make any problem worse. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly hope it gives you some food for thought. And if you like the video, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.